Reince, good morning. Good to have you with us today.
Hey, good morning, Martha.
So what's the state of what we just had in our introduction there? Is that true from where you sit?
Well, not from where I sit. I mean, we outraised the DNC last month by $2 million. We outraised the DNC by $38 million for the cycle. We've outraised the DNC by $6 million for the year. And we have a $44 million cash advantage over the DNC. So I don't know. I guess people are forgetting about the fact that the party committees are the committees that have most of the hard money that these campaigns need in order to win these elections. These candidates can't even communicate with these super PACs. The only people they can communicate with is themselves and us. And we're crushing the DNC. So I don't really get the narrative, to tell you the truth.
Well, I guess the question is more the money that's moving around within the party and where that money is focused. Let's go through some of these races, because there's an increasing concentration looking at these Senate races and whether or not Republicans will be able to hold the Senate. Let's go through some of these so that folks at home can see the real Clear Politics average of all the polls that are considered to be out there and substantial. You've got Kelly Ayotte in a very tight race. Let's scroll forward. That's New Hampshire, of course. Florida, Marco Rubio looks like he's in a pretty good position there. Pennsylvania, very tight race between Pat Toomey and McGinty. Nevada, Joe Heck against Cortez Masto. That one is very tight as well. North Carolina's tight. Burr and Ross, and let's go to the Illinois Senate race, which is Duckworth and Kirk. Also, there was an uncomfortable moment in that debate the other night between the two of them, where he suggested that her family had not been serving the country since the Revolution, which she proved him wrong on. So are you concerned about the vulnerability of the Senate out there?
No, well, look, I mean, you worry about everything, but the truth is what you're seeing is the reason that tightening is happening again in some of the tougher races, without going through every one of them, is because Donald Trump's also getting stronger. If you talk to these Senate campaigns, they'll tell you that the last 10 days have been good for us, because not only are there our senators doing a good job, but Donald Trump's doing a great job of staying on message, talking about Hillary Clinton, talking about the choice between him and her, which is obviously a trust choice, and the reason these races are tightening up is because we're stronger at the top of the ticket, and I think the next 11 days is going to be a continuation of that, and it's still a long time, and I feel very confident about what's happening in the Senate. But the other piece of this, Martha, and it is important to note, all of this works together. I mean, you can't have a good ground game in Nevada by identifying and turning out Republican voters. That doesn't help both Joe Heck and Donald Trump. What we have here is a very unique situation where almost every battleground state that you would talk about that's important to Donald Trump is a battleground state that's important to our chances of holding the Senate. So these two conversations can't be divorced from each other.
But they are
work
in cases.
together.
I mean, you look at Kelly Ayotte and the ad that she put out, where she basically says, look, no matter who you vote for at the top of the ticket, vote for me. I'm independent. And then let's take a look at this ad in Illinois, which is not a battleground state, but you have Bob Dole, and this is an RCC-funded ad, which says this. Watch.
Who will put Illinois first? Brad Schneider has voted the party line nearly 90%. Won't stand up to his own party's scandals. No independent leadership. Bob Dole is rated one of the most bipartisan members of Congress. And Dole is an independent voice who stood up to Donald Trump months ago.
Advertising stood up to Donald Trump months ago, and that's the reason to vote for that Republican, right?
Well, yeah, but I mean, that's not uncommon, Martha. I mean, when you're in very independent places like Illinois, northern Illinois, where Bob Dole is from, the northeastern part of Illinois, and you look at New Hampshire, it's always, the play for independence is always going to come into play. You can see that in districts across America where you have very Republican or very Democrat district. The candidates will actually vote for Republican in the name or vote for Democrat in the name. But when you get into a split district, you don't see any labels on anybody.
But if Donald Trump loses this race, there will be a major conversation about how hard some of the Republicans out there across the country pushed against him early on, and that, coming home to the party, as is the theme of the past few days, if it doesn't happen, will be one of the reasons he loses.
Well, I think that it's important for Republicans to remember what Donald Trump spelled out in the first 30 minutes of that debate. I mean, I thought that first 30 minutes was fantastic, not just because he did well, but he laid out the points for Republicans across America. Number one, conservative Supreme Court in the eyes of Justice Scalia. Number two, he made a very articulate case for the Second Amendment in the next topic. And the third topic, he made a very articulate and compelling case for life. I mean, spelling out the issue of partial birth abortion, where Hillary's at. We haven't had a Republican spell those positions out like Donald Trump did in the first 30 minutes.
Thank you. I hate to cut you off.